Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, did you survive a family reunion?
I did, yes. I was tired a little bit afterwards, though. But, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I just came back and, jumped right into everything else. You know what I mean? It's just like, whew, you almost need a day to just let your mind digest it all.
I know. I can't tell you how many times I've been suggested to take a few days afterwards, and I don't know why. I did this time. I took one day. We were supposed to take two, but
Yeah.
weather was getting bad in Texas, so we came back a day early. But I think you're right. I think just a debriefing day, a down day. We laid by the pool the day after, and gosh, actually we had some great conversations with people at the pool.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that a guy said that had been there 2 weeks. He said, I just want you, he overheard our conversations in the pool. And he said, I just want you guys to know that I've been here 2 weeks and I've seen so many companies go in and out. You're the only people that I've heard talk like you love your company.
Wow.
He said, every group that's been through, he said, I've had, since I've been here 2 weeks, quite a few, they all do nothing but gripe and complain, and they hate their company. And I'm like, hey, that's great recruiting ground for us.
Yeah.
What companies were those?
Yeah. Man, that is kind of sad though. It was funny. We had I had our one team Zoom this morning. We have it every Friday, and I was asking everybody to share their ahas. And I think it was Allie that said something that was really good. She said, I really realized that we're with a company that truly cares about us and where we are in our lives and where we are in the world right now, that they chose our keynote speaker to not be somebody that could go tell us how to sell another house or somebody that could tell us how to start another business, but they chose somebody that could tell us how to be happy and how to increase our mindsets and our attitude and all those things. And she said that was just so refreshing, for me. And then everybody else was like, yes, we agree.
Yeah, totally agree. And and then also to have the owner of the Rosen Hotel be at the inspirational breakfast, I thought was phenomenal. I mean, because you look at someone like him and you think, man, no troubles, right?
Yeah.
No bad times, no money issues through COVID, no loss. And he had every one of those. It gave me a whole new appreciation for, even people who look like they have it all, they got the same problems you and I do. So very interesting.
Totally.
So we're going to talk about today, family reunion. What are your ahas? I had some big ahas, and it's not like I haven't heard some of this stuff, but I think for the first time I believed what I was hearing. So can't wait to hear what you got. What was some of your ahas from family reunion this time?
I was the same with just big ones. And I think for me this year, I mean, I felt like our industry is, and I know we've been talking about this for years leading up about our industry changing and being so different. And this time I really feel like it's here. We're not talking into the future anymore. We're talking about the present. And I just feel like things are changing so fast. Some of the things, just to start, that were mind blowing to me in regards to just realtors in general is the whole lead conversion. And the average lead is sold 12.7 times. So it's the same lead is from, any aggregator. We won't call it a specific one, but they're sold to 12.7 different realtors. And the fact that 78% of consumers work with the first agent they talk to, 48% of the calls of the leads don't actually get answered by agents today. Some of those stats just really blew my mind, to be honest. And I think that with the way everything is changing, just knowing a lot of that data was really powerful for me. From kind of two different seats, one from the agency, but then other as an owner of market centers. Just things are changing. I mean, it's wild. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I really felt like there is a chasm and a gap that is happening that is most people probably are not even aware of. But
Mm-hmm.
for the first time, I saw the potential in real estate bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
The people that are doing expansion and doing it at a high level,
Yeah.
and it's kind of one of those things where you didn't pay attention to them for a long time because it didn't look like it was working, didn't look like they could
Yeah.
figure out how to make any money. And now all of a sudden they're making massive amounts
Yep.
of money. And it's just how everything's coming back full circle from dependent to interdependent to back to a little combination of all of them, and
Yep. Gary.
definitely a need for a dependent.
Yeah, I think that's where I think of when he just kept saying ultimate optionality. Like we have to provide it all.
Yeah,
And and yeah, that was mind blowing to me. But I just and it also left me like fired up too because
yeah,
we've been working on this stuff for a couple years, and I just thought like I know we're on the right track. It just takes time, but I'm grateful that we have started it already. Like I
yeah.
can't imagine being a brokerage that is not even like doesn't even have like a head start on it. I mean, just because I know how long it's has taken to do some of it, and we aren't even all the way there yet.
Yeah, and I think we're in a better position to do it because we are so connected to our agent.
Yeah,
Whereas I think if someone was just doing this and really had never walked in the shoes of a top agent or been top
yep,
agents themselves, it would be harder to kind of understand.
yeah,
You would kind of on the outside look like you had this stuff, but it that can be one upped by people who have walked in those shoes, who've done it at a high level and that kind of stuff.
yep,
So, yeah, to be honest with you, for the first time ever, I thought, dang, I got out of my team to get bigger opportunities. Which, by the way, yes, I got bigger opportunities. My life is way bigger. It's way freer,
yep,
full of wealth. But I also now see a way through being an agent that it can be even bigger than I ever dreamed. And I think part of the reason I decided to go a different route and go leadership and ownership and things like that is because I didn't see a bigger potential. And all of a sudden, I
yep,
massively see that big potential. And that was,
yeah.
it kind of does get you excited. I think it does one of two things to you. It either exhausts you,
Overwhelms you.
overwhelms normal because I think the overwhelm is going to go away once you get into activity, right? Once you
Yep,
start moving that direction, failing your way forward in it. Uh, so I don't think there's any way around the overwhelm. But I also think that you just got to pick one. The other thing that was there were so many different people that maybe even a year into this have been trying some of these things, and to have everybody look at it a little bit differently, which way you
yeah,
should start. I think
yep,
leads for sure is where you should start. That's a definite. Leads are super important, but I think there's some other pieces that are also just as important. But yeah, I really for the first time got super excited about kind of the big upside and opportunity in the real estate sales side of it.
yep. Totally agree with that. That takes me to one thing. I think in order to have big lives like that and have a big business, honed in a lot on scale and like how to scale and how to scale quickly and how to scale the right way. So I really tried to attend to breakout sessions and take a lot of notes on as much of the scaling as I could. And a couple of the things there that I thought were like the hugest ahas I had, where the system is the boss. A lot of times we think it's the person or it's the team or it's the people, and the reality is that it's the system, and a proven system will scale, but a different system in each place will never scale. And that really convicted me
Say that
because
again.
a proven system will scale, but a different system in each place
Mm,
will never scale.
yeah.
Like if you're doing one thing I'll just use ourselves for example. If we're doing one thing in Kentucky and a different way in Ohio and a different way in Indiana, like we're never going to be able to scale. We have to be able to have the systems match everywhere, and the system has to be boss. And then he said, automate as much as you can and keep the human element to it also, and just fix stuff fast. When you break it or when you mess up or when something doesn't go the right way that you think that it's supposed to, just be willing to fix it fast. And we've heard that over and over and over, but I appreciated it more this time because we're trying so many new things, and it's
Hmm.
like crap, I needed the reminder that if it doesn't work, we just got to move on quickly and go to the next thing.
Well, I do think you and I, because you and I have been having this conversation off camera, you and I have a big advantage in the fact that we have probably done more career visioning on people in the last
Yep.
12 months than anyone, right? And I think one of my biggest ahas was, I wrote this down. Agents have a great process called career visioning. It's like a
Mm,
secret weapon. I mean, it's like
yep.
lethal if you master it and learn it. We have a great book that gives you exactly the blueprint. You have systems and models to follow. And instead of always being frustrated why people won't follow it, step into that gap and be the answer for people with that. And that was,
Totally agree.
to me, because great systems start with great systems people. And so having
Yeah.
the tools and the process to identify those people quick as possible, I think is going to really, really help scale any of this faster.
Yep, I totally agree with that 100%. And it's painful when you're going through it, but I'm so grateful that we have it.
Yes, absolutely. Another aha I had is because I taught a session on families working together, is how that room was full. How many families are actually
Yeah,
working together? And we're not talking about just spouses, we're talking about their
I
kids,
knew it would be a lot. Yep.
cousins. I mean, that was a big aha to me. So one of my ideas coming up is some tools to help families work together better. So,
I love that.
yeah. Matter of fact, I don't know whose. Maybe that was Anna's idea when we walked out there. She said, "Man, there's you an opportunity right there." So I'll be working on that.
Well, when I even think about how many we have just in our offices, it's a lot.
Hmm. It is a lot,
And a lot
and
of people get their kids in the bed, I mean, it's quite a few.
yeah, and it's a struggle. It's harder. I remember how hard it was for Jim and I when we started trying to work together, and now we've got, gosh, cousins and brother-in-law and sister-in-law and son and daughter-in-law. You name it, we got them. So I feel the pain of trying to figure all that out. So anyway,
Yeah,
great opportunity
totally.
there.
Yeah. One of the things that I took away, which my favorite part every year is Gary's market update. And I take like copious notes in that because I just love it. And I love to bring it back and teach it to our agents that weren't there. I think that's, and you and I talked about this, I think that's one of the biggest advantages that we have is that Gary shares that stuff with us and we know it and we're in the loop with it. And so a couple things that I thought were very fascinating to look at is just for the first one was the hold on, let me go through my notes. Okay, the first one was the home prices. Clearly, they're the highest that they've ever been. I mean, they've
Hmm.
literally never been higher. We've seen appreciation, the highest we've ever seen it. It's all the way up to 17%. And then he said the last 2 years have been the most remarkable appreciation period ever. It's been like never before. It does have a little inflation baked into it, just like everything else. We could do this for another year, or we could do it for another 3 or 4 above the trend line. But at some point, houses become unaffordable.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things we're going to mastermind on with our agents is just going ahead and preparing for that. I mean, if we have another great year, awesome. If we had another three, that'd be great too. But at some point, they will become affordable. And he said, when you see appreciation happen this fast, it actually can expose people to negative equity. So we have to make sure that we are staying in the loop with it all and that we're looking at the other factors. He said credit scores are still like required to be high right now to borrow, and so the minute that we start to see them lessen credit scores, like that's a sign of
Yeah.
for us, we might be going into a shift, or that there could be, a bubble or whatever everybody calls it. So several of those like just stats and updates I think are so helpful. I loved when he talked about there were 6.1 million homes sold last year, and people keep saying that we have an inventory problem, but we had to have the homes to sell them. They sold. So he said it's not that you didn't have the inventory. What you had was instant sales. It's a days on market
Hmm.
issue, not an inventory issue.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like we need to take that out of our like vocabulary
Yeah.
when it comes to us talking to people.
Yeah, well, when I teach listings and I tell people that I used to carry 200 listings, they just can't believe it. But back then it took 200 listings to do 200 sales. Now it doesn't
Right.
take 200 listings do 200 sales.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yep.
that's a really good point. One of my favorite parts was the military guy. I really have a heart for military and how they serve us. And I mean, just the sacrifices they make. So I really put it on my agenda to really look for some great military people to work in my organization. I think we have a great
Yeah.
opportunity with no cost real estate school. And I think one of the first places I want to advertise to is military and military families, because I just think
Yep.
it's such a gift to give back to them who's given so much for us. And I just love their discipline and their work ethic and things like that. So I
Yep.
put a star by military, really trying to do a better job of identifying military candidates. Matter of fact, the CV process that I did this morning before this episode was with a guy in the military, and you just hear the difference in their voice.
Yeah.
Their commitment level is just so much higher.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So we had a guest for one of our offices who is with another company, and he served, oh gosh, I can't remember, several years in the military and several years actually overseas. And it was really cool. You know, we didn't know that Levi was going to be there, that was going to be announced or anything. And he was blown away. I mean, he was like, that just made my whole entire trip. Like, now that is really cool. And so we were able to get him kind of squared away with some of that information. But I just think that I love that we're focusing on that, because we have a little bit in the past, but nothing like now. And his story is so incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just felt his heart for his people and
Yep.
for serving, whether he's serving his country or serving his real estate clients. He was just super infectious. And I think we could do with a whole lot more Levi's in our company.
Yeah, I totally agree.
One of the really good ideas I heard in a class that I was in, actually it was at the CEO thing the first day. You were probably in there too.
Yeah.
But did you hear Sue Adler when she talked about doing sellers Zooms?
Oh yeah, loved that. Yep, I took a lot of notes from her.
Yeah, that was a good idea. She what she does is when she's trying to break into a new area, and by the way, her average sales price is super high. So we're talking about a,
Yep.
a price range that people wouldn't think those people would jump on a Zoom and do a seller workshop. She calls it seller workshops, right?
Yeah, that's a seller seminar. Yeah,
Yeah. So
or workshop. Yeah.
yeah, so I love that. I thought that was a great idea. That's something that somebody can implement really pretty quickly, and she does it for each new
Well,
area that she's trying to go into.
yeah, I loved that she said. So Gary talked a lot about how we have, uh, whenever we're having leads or something, we think that they're a lead, but really it's just a contact information, and that then they become nurturers. And I loved that she said most of her people are 6 months to 2 years out, and so that's why she's grouping them in these seller listing seminars. But I loved her mofer. It was, if you'd like to be a successful seller, you need to come to our workshop. And I was like, man, that's good. Like, that's a good thing to throw out there. And then I was also impressed. She comes up with the top 5 to 7 things that all their sellers asked them over the last year or so. And then those become the hooks to get people there.
Yeah.
So, like, how to sell your house in a quick amount of time, or how can we get the most money, or how can we sell our house without having to have people come through it during COVID, whatever it was. And then she uses those to reel people in, and I thought that was very impressive. And then she said the next step is the home consultation, like as a second step to actually physically go and see their home.
Yeah. And she said, she could tell by the questions that people ask on the Zoom, who are those going to be those appointments that she's going to have. Love that. And that's
Yep.
been a
Yeah.
that's been a thing, one of the key points about marketing for history. I remember it when I was marketing for my own name brand in real estate and business is, you got to put out there what people are already thinking so that you're kind of in their head with your marketing piece. And that's kind of
Mhm.
what she did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really smart. I thought, I heard this a couple different times, and people called it the law of 100 and all sorts of different stuff, but that 100 is the maximum number in which an agent can truly manage people in their database and be very effective at one given time. And then I think it was during the CEO mastermind, maybe Sarah Reynolds, I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, no, I think it was Brian Gubernick. Somebody said most successful agents can really only manage between 40 and 50 true, like, to effectively manage them in their database at one time, if they're active. And so he said the agents can go deep really in those, and then they can cherry pick out the other ones. And so that just made me think about how often are we really just trying to like throw a big net out there and catch as many as we can in our database instead of really having 40, 50 to 100 that we just are like going super deep with.
Yeah.
Um, and how much business we could really get from just those few.
Well, I think that's kind of an issue all of us have. We'd rather go wide than deep. Wide is so
Yeah,
much more sexy than deep,
it's easier.
but deep pays off so much more, you know,
Yeah,
in anything.
yeah, love.
Uh,
I really liked when he was talking about the questions that Brian Gubernick and Julie Youngblood shared in regards to leads in your database. Do you have a single place you manage your leads? Do you know the next steps with each lead in your database? How do you feel about your pipeline and what does it look like? Where are the holes and what are you doing with the leads that are not buying or selling like right now
mhm.
today? And I feel like if we all asked ourselves that and we asked that of our teams, we would probably find a lot in there that we don't think that we already have right now, because I think it goes back to a lot of times it's not that we have a lead problem, it's that we have a lead follow-up
Yeah,
problem.
so true. And I think this is like my whole career, 30 something years in real estate. None of this is new. It's all the same. It's just
Yeah.
now if you conquer it, it's a bigger reward and a bigger payoff. Database has always been most people's issue. They don't work their database, they don't clean it up, they don't even pay attention to it. They're afraid to talk to their people, afraid to ask them anything of their people. Uh, you know, they don't have good processes to follow up with people. They don't want to master the career visioning process. And yet I
Mm-hmm.
see the people that are succeeding at a high level, whether it's expansion or the people that were on the panel for working with families, they all have taken the time and mastered these things. And it's not
Yeah.
complicated. It's simple, but it's not easy for people to do for some reason. People
Yeah.
just don't, um, they're unwilling to do it. And I haven't figured that part out why yet. So.
Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree.
The other thing that hit me on was ISAs. Man, it seemed like people have taken ISAs
Oh,
to the next level.
yep. Yeah, we talked about that with in our Indiana office. That was so many of the agents' takeaways, where that was the ISA model, and how so many of them. It used to kind of be you would hire an ISA, they would do the calling, they would set your appointments, and then at some point they would move into an agent
Hmm.
role or a buyer's agent role. This time I felt like I heard totally different. Like they have a separate profile. And these ISAs, I mean, some of them are really running the majority of the teams.
Hmm. Yeah. Or they're virtual and they
Right.
just, that is the role that they're in. I don't see them necessarily going anyplace else but that. And the one thing I saw that was the people that were super successful with ISAs is they're in constant communication and training with the people. And I think that's a big mistake people make is
Yeah.
they get an ISA and they just don't bother to, stay plugged into them. And I don't think that works very well.
No, I've done that before. Yeah, you have to stay with them every day.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to
Yeah.
these dreaded basics, monotonous, simple
Yeah.
but not easy
Mhm.
things to be successful. And then the one last thing I'll add on my aha from inspirational morning was um, as I sat there, and it's so funny because I'm in a part of a prayer group that meets with Mo
Yeah.
beforehand. And poor Mo, she always worries the same thing. What if everybody went home? And we're like, Mo, promise you, this is too important. People are going to stay because it is after kind of majority of everything's over.
Yeah.
And when you looked out at that group and you saw it completely full of people that
Yeah.
stayed for inspirational morning, one, it was just enlightening and it warmed my heart to know that many people know how impactful and important that morning really is for us to be reminded of how much is required of us who have been given so much. And when I
Mhm.
sat there and I watched those singers watch the program, I realized, and even the guy in the pool, so
Yeah.
much about who we are is said when we don't even realize we're saying it. It's when people are watching and we don't even know they're watching. But I watched
Yeah.
all those singers watch Mo and watch what we did as our agents did as a company and the people that had given back and found a great need over the past 12 months and given to it. And to watch our company give big checks to other charities, even though we have a big charity ourselves, I watched the backside this time, and I just was moved and touched by how we're impacting the world by being who we are. It was really impactful. I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I was just so happy that everybody showed up.
I love that. I think that we couldn't do all the business that we want, but that's really the heart of it all and of our company. And I don't know, I just think that the more that we can show that to other people they're attracted to that. They want to be a part of doing something where they're making a difference. And I love that. I think it's all amazing.
And I think culture is one of those things that is built over time by all the people that come together. And it says a lot about who those people are. And I don't think you can imitate it. I think it's got to be just authentically, organically grown like that. And so I'm just super proud of our culture and of that inspirational morning to give everybody a chance to be reminded of giving back to the world that we've been given so much. So what would be the last final idea that you have, Dana, about family reunion that you'd like to share?
Oh gosh, well, I felt like that one would have been a good one to end on. I will say this: I felt very comforted in the fact that when Gary was talking about the industry right now, and he said people have more money in savings than they ever did or ever have before, not because necessarily they've worked, but because most of them have gotten it from the government, right? The government has given so many people money. So he said they have more cash than ever before. And they aren't working. He said, so people call in sick a lot. They change jobs. And he said, but we're all in the same boat with this. And I thought, okay, that just like makes me feel comforted, because as a business owner, I've experienced that a lot over the last year or two. And I feel like it hasn't really changed that much. It's like, it's harder to find people, to work. And it's like, we used to interview, 5 or 6 or 7 or so. And now it's like 20 or 30 or 40 or more. I mean, it's so different. And so I felt a little bit just validated and comforted to know that it's kind of just everybody, and it's out there everywhere. And it's not, because I was beginning to think like, what is wrong with us? Why can we not find great people for the front desk? Where we're like, what is going on? But I think it's just the way that it's just a time and a season that we're in.
Well, and I think anytime you put an ad out, you're going to have to go through a lot more people. It's so funny. Our front desk girl, we just got her because we went to a gymnastics meet for my granddaughter, gymnastics class for my granddaughter. And Anna was in town, my daughter-in-law. And she came up to me and said, hey, this girl at the front desk, you need to get her. You need to steal her. I said, okay, great. So I went up to her and said, hey, my daughter-in-law says I need to see if you're available. And she said, yeah, I absolutely am. And so she's now working our front desk because we got to sit and observe how she handled so many things and so gracefully and with such servant's heart that we actually got to see her already be a great performer and choose her that way. So I think we have to put in perspective, if some of those people, and I felt like this today with my career visionings and other days, sometimes I feel like people are just telling me what they want me to hear because they want out of either the industry they're in or they think they want to be in real estate, but they don't want to take the risk. So they'd rather have a job. So, which is okay.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Which is okay. So,
yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, so awesome. Great episode. And I guess we may even have enough. We could do a second session at some point on all the things we learned from family reunion, because I still have plenty of notes and I know you do too.
Yep.
So remember, if you have not hit subscribe below, please do. And the greatest compliment you could give Dana and I is a 5-star review so that we can help other people find our podcast. And if you've got any ideas, questions, challenges, opportunities that you'd like for Dana and I to discuss, or great guests that you know of, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. And Dana, I guess I'll see you next week.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.